everybody. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Art Chats. We have had some pet accident drama going on, so if you see people going back and forth here, cleaning up, that's what's going on. I think it's mostly done, but just in case, just a heads up. This week's episode of Art Chat is going to be talking about the qualities and traits that make you, you, and why it's important to embrace those things. But first, before we get into that, I just want to let you know, if you're new to Art Chats, let me tell you a little bit about what it's about. Every couple times a month, I'll come on here and have discussions with you all live here on Instagram about subjects like self-care for creatives, the evolution of an artist's voice, and learning to be vulnerable and sharing your work and your gifts. I'm glad you're here to join me. Embracing the qualities and the traits that make you, you is really important. So often we can look at what other people are doing and we only see the good parts, the highlights of their lives. We see the things that they choose to share with us, and most of the time that's carefully curated, especially online and in social media. In real life, it's a little harder to do that because you're interacting face to face, you're seeing things in real time. But on social media, it's really only what they want you to see, what they let you see. And that can give you a really inaccurate, skewed sense of what's actually happening in their lives. So it's easy to see people's accomplishments and their celebrations, but it's not so easy to see the struggles and the disappointments that they're going through. As the saying goes, the grass is always greener. And actually, I was writing my notes for this at 6:35 now, and at 5:56, so 45 minutes ago, roughly, I was still making my notes and finishing up what I wanted to say, and I went over on Threads and made a post saying, I want to be the kind of person who gets things done ahead of time, because it feels like I'm constantly trying to catch up. I'm reacting. I'm always kind of behind, it feels like. And in a perfect world, I maybe could be that person, but then I wouldn't be me, and that also goes against what I'm telling you here tonight. So even though that's a part of me I struggle with, it's important to embrace that part because that's who I am. If I was really good with time management in this case, I wouldn't be me. I might not be able to connect or empathize with people in quite the same way. Or maybe I wouldn't be able to appreciate beauty in the world, or my creative view of the world and my voice would be different. And none of those things are bad. It would be a different person. It wouldn't be me. And I think that's something we all need to think about. The fact that who we are is the way that God made us. And that's beautiful and special, even in our struggles, even in our flaws. None of us are perfect, but we're beautifully made, wonderfully and beautifully made. We can't be replicated or replaced. And that's true in all aspects of our lives, but especially in creativity in this context. In my experience, it has taken me a long time to embrace my own style. I've been creating for over a decade, And it's really kind of just recently that I've started embracing my process, my methods of creating the output, the just the way I think and do things. The things that I naturally create don't really look like the things that other artists I admire are creating. And there's nothing wrong with that, of course, and I definitely don't want to copy their work or try to take away from their own contributions. But for a long time, I had the idea that my work needed to be similar to theirs in order to be worthy. And I didn't realize that by making that my highest objective, I was actually silencing and stifling my own voice. My work is my own, and the fact that it stands out instead of blending in is actually the greatest thing. It's taken me a really long time to realize that, but that's a big selling point. That's the greatest thing I have for me is my voice, my uniqueness. So many other people try to create original art in the spirit and style of someone else. And I'm sure you've seen those. But when they do that, they don't realize that they're actually only robbing themselves. They're robbing themselves of the experience of learning to express themselves, of learning to articulate their own creative voice. They're missing out on being able to connect with people who need to hear their own voice rather than trying to emulate some other famous artist. So when I say that my work is my own, you know, I mean, what I mean is that I don't consciously emulate anyone else. I don't try to look at another artist's work and come up with something similar. I haven't seen another artist whose work looks similar to mine. And I'm sure there is one, because even when you're working from an original point of view, you're creating from your own head and heart and your own inspiration, that there's still nothing new under the sun. If there is another artist that creates like me, I don't know about it, and it's definitely not intentional. But the greatest satisfaction and fulfillment and reward that I get when I create is when I make for myself, just intuitive art. I can do it without really thinking. It's just what comes naturally to me. And there are so many other wonderful artists who make beautiful creations. And those are great to do as studies, but you also have to be careful about being too influenced by their work and losing sight of your own creative voice. So don't change who we are. How can we embrace that? How can we embody that and bring that practice into our own lives? Because I definitely know it's easier said than done. It's really easy to say, I'm me, and that's beautiful and great, and I'm going to honor that. It's the comparison game, imposter syndrome, all of that is real, and I know we all experience it. So we have to be intentional about how we approach this philosophy and how we think about ourselves and our own work in the context of the greater creative community. So first of all, most obvious, don't try and be like other creatives. If you create for yourself, if you just work from what really inspires you, whether that's color or subject matter, or pattern or brush stroke or composition, do what comes naturally to you, what makes you feel whole and right, and the right people will find you. If you are trying to create like someone else, it's going to bring the wrong audience, and it's just not going to work. Everything is going to fall flat, and they'll be able to tell, just even if all the brush strokes are right, it's very similar to some other famous artist. It's still not going to have that same energy, and people can tell. When you try to be what you're not, you actually lose sight of yourself in your own voice. And if you do that too much, it's just exhausting. You're gonna wear yourself out by trying to be a different artist. Anything that doesn't come naturally to you isn't sustainable, and you won't be able to keep it up. So it's important to keep working in the way that suits you. Don't try and implement someone else's processes or routine or schedule, and this doesn't just refer to like their actual creative style. If you're trying to incorporate anything, but like I said, their schedule, their use of color, patterns, whatever it is, if it doesn't connect with you, it's just not going to work out. And it's actually going to slow your own growth and development in your own voice if you continually try to keep emulating what other people are doing. So, number 2, you are not too much, and you're not enough. I've heard this a lot coming from other artists, especially ones who are kind of coming back into their creativity after a prolonged break. Maybe they're rediscovering who they really are, or they're embracing what they've always wanted to do. But so often it seems like the people around them aren't supportive, or they're not willing to update or alter or revise their perception of those people, of those creatives. And so that they end up giving the people a really hard time about the changes they're making in their life. And a big mistake you could make would be to internalize that, to take it personally, to accept that criticism, and use that to limit yourself and keep yourself where you have been, instead of growing and learning and celebrating your gifts. So the people who want to keep you small and keep you down, they don't have a problem with what you're doing. The problem they have is actually with themselves. And the way they express that is by taking it out on you. So just because these people can't see the beauty and worth in what you're doing, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. You we all have a beautiful creative voice that can contribute a whole lot to the world. We can use our creativity to uplift, to inspire, to motivate, to bring about change. And if those people aren't able to see it, that's their loss. They just can't see how bright you really are, ready to shine. And again, that's a them problem, not a you problem. So if you're experiencing that, I really hope you kind of consider that point. And don't let yourself be diminished because someone else is struggling in their life. Number 3, let go of the need for perfection because it doesn't exist. What you perceive as perfection from another person, like I alluded to before with social media, it's actually just a facade. It's not real. It's fake. It's totally fake. And that doesn't mean they're being malicious about putting up that facade, but it is a very careful way for them to show themselves to the world without being vulnerable, without showing their shortcomings or their flaws or insecurities. But what you really need to remember is that your audience, your customers, your clients, your family, friends, coworkers, neighbors, the people in your life, they're not looking for that kind of perfection. They don't want a facade from you. They are looking for you, who you really are, and the way that you can make them laugh, the way that you're there at the drop of a hat in an emergency when they really and truly need you. They are thinking and honoring the celebrations and the shenanigans that you've gotten into together. And a perfect person doesn't have all those kinds of shared memories. A perfect person who doesn't make mistakes or missteps or, they don't mess up every now and then. What you're actually talking about there is just a robot. And if you just have a robot, there's no friendship, there's no love, there's no character or soul or spirit or heart. And that's kind of what all this goes back to. Who you are is those things. Your character, your soul, your spirit, your heart. And that is really what's most important for you as a person, for you as an artist and a creative. And that's how you relate to other people and to the world. So embrace that and don't try and be perfect, because there's no such thing. And if there was, everyone else would just be disappointed because it wouldn't be you. Robots are boring. Real life people are what make a real difference in the world. Thank you so much for being here with me tonight, guys. If there's anything else you'd like me to hear me talk about in a future art chat, leave a comment or send me a DM. Make sure you're following me here on Instagram to get notified of my future art chat episodes. The next one is going to be May 21st to Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Or you can join my mailing list to be the first to know about new art collections, behind the scenes information, events, things I'm doing locally in my local community, and more. You can go to emilyjaleski.com/subscribe to sign up. And don't forget also that I just released my newest collection. It's now available on my website. It's called the Serendipity Collection, and it's a celebration of trusting your inner voice and following your artist intuition, which is kind of fitting for this week's chat. So I will see you guys back here next time. Remember, it's May 21st, Tuesday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I hope I'll see you there. Have a great week.